Well, hello there, everybody. If you have been watching since 7 o'clock, I completely apologize that we're so late. We had quite a bit of technical difficulties. So rather than just continue to get the same error messages, I'm just going to wing it. So it's just me. So thank you for everyone who has joined, and I'm just gonna kind of chat. We are calling this a Firefly chat, and sort of the inspiration for that was thinking of fireside chats and just a play on words. And one of my favorite things to do in the evening is to sit outside and watch the fireflies in my yard. So I think it's probably a little early that we won't see any fireflies, but you know, we'll imagine. It's like little magical lights twinkling. So for those of you who may not know me very well, I am Celeste Williams. I am a family nurse practitioner and the Democratic candidate for U.S. Congress here in Arkansas's 3rd Congressional District. And for anybody who missed it, we did have a really good Medium piece that came out this week. And it's just kind of an introduction to me and why I'm running. So if you didn't catch that, it is posted on social media, and I would love for you to read that. So I'll just kind of hit the highlights from the article. Like I said, I am a family nurse practitioner, mom of 4, former foster mom, and I spent over 23 years as a nurse. And really a life of service. And I am running for office because far too many of my patients I see are struggling with the cost of healthcare and prescription drug coverage. And I think that that's wrong. And I would like to live in a world where nobody goes broke just because they get sick, where we have a world-class education for our children, and that workers in America are paid a fair wage. So I am going to look here and see if anybody has any questions. I would love, and sorry you can see my finger in the screen, but I would love for you all to just kind of post any questions you have for me. Just kind of thinking about, what's on my mind recently has been sort of the fact that I think we are really living in a super partisan age. And I think that in this election cycle, we really are facing, I think this is the most important election that we've ever been through, and that, our democracy is on the line in this election cycle. And I think that, if we want to have, okay, I see a question. If we want to have a strong democracy, then we need to make sure that we have free and fair elections. And I think that our elected officials really need to, especially in the age of COVID, lean into where does the science direct us to go. And that should really lead policy. And we shouldn't try to lead with partisanship, which has really kind of got us into the mess that we're in right now with COVID. All right, let me look at, I think I saw a question here. What am I reading right now? The Coming Storm. and it's sort of a history, which I wish that I had more time to read right now, but it's sort of history of America and where we are right now, and sort of the ups and downs of our economy, and how we have these times of greatness and then times of calamity, and we are right on that precipice of a dark, terrible time for humanity. And this particular author, looking forward, says that we're going to have, after we get through it, that we'll have another time of economic growth. And so I'm certainly looking forward to that time. And what is my favorite podcast? Well, I have a lot of podcast addictions. You know, we all have our addictions, and if podcasts is the worst thing that I suffer from, then I feel like that's doing pretty good. So I will just, one of my favorites is Pantsuit Politics. I love that podcast. Their thing is having more grace-filled, nuanced conversations, and I think that's certainly something that's missing in political conversation today, and I certainly would love to see more of that. And one of my newest podcasts I started listening to is, they've only had one episode that came out, but it's called Missing America, and it's sort of a look at what happens when America decides not to lead, and sort of sets the stage for an argument that rooster crowing, that the rest of the world really wants us to lead, and we all do better when the United States is leading. And certainly when we step out of that role of leadership, it creates quite a power vacuum. And I think if you look at who's waiting to fill that right now, that would be China. And I would certainly argue that their leadership is not going to lean into human rights and really making sure that everybody is doing better. So it's a good podcast. You should listen to that. I'll endorse it. Let's see. How can we help you? Oh, that's an excellent question. So how can you help me? Well, certainly, you know, running for office is a really big endeavor, and one that I cannot do on my own. So things that you can do to get involved would be signing up to volunteer, which if you visit our website, CelesteWilliamsForArkansas.com, there is a button that you can click to volunteer, and we would love to have your help. Helping us reach voters through phone banking or text banking, writing postcards. Those are all things that are really important that you can do to get involved and really help fight for better for here in Arkansas. And then I always say, you know, in addition to that, it takes money to run a campaign, and you can also visit the website and click that donate button. And that would be really helpful too. We would certainly love to have a fancy, wonderful ad to put on TV. And so if you donate, then you can, when you see that come on, you can feel good about yourself that you helped put that there. Or if you think about people in rural Arkansas who are really needing us to help create more opportunity for them there, you know, helping fund a mailer to reach people who may not have broadband internet or even reliable TV service. And so it would be great to help us reach voters that way as well. So those would be things that, oh, and the super simple thing is invite your friends to like us and follow us on social media, because that helps us get our message out and reach more voters that way as well. Let's see. Cheryl says hello from Lowell. Hello, Lowell. Specifically Cheryl, but I'll say hello to the whole town too. Let's see. What would you like to see Arkansas's representatives do to restore unemployment benefits? Well, we definitely need to do that, get that restored. I would certainly like to see the HEROES Act passed as well. You know, I have some real issues with the executive order for several reasons that our president signed. One is I think it's Congress's job to enact legislation, and they're not doing that. And I think that this is an overreach. I don't think that the executive branch should be passing this type of thing. I think that's the job of Congress. The other problem that I have with that is that, you know, it's a payroll tax cut, and that is going to take money from Medicare and Social Security. And I think at the end of the day, our elected officials need to remember who they're serving, and that is the people in this country who are working hard and paying their taxes, and we're all paying in to Medicare for Social Security, and we want our seniors to continue to have medical care. And I think that's morally wrong to put those programs in a situation where they're not fully funded as well. So I think Congress needs to pass the HEROES Act. And then on that too, one of the other things that it does would be to make it possible for our Marshallese neighbors to be able to get Medicaid, which was something that we promised them whenever we set off an atomic bomb on their land, on their islands. And we promised them that they could come here and that they could get health care. And then that was repealed in Congress in a bill, I want to say it was in 1996. I'm not positive on the year now that I've said that. But since then, they've been unable to get Medicaid. And, you know, that really drastically impacts their health and the quality of life in their community. And, you know, they live in our community, and we're all healthier when everyone has access to health care. And certainly in the time of COVID, they have had a disproportionately high number of COVID cases within the Marshallese community, and I would like to make sure that we are honoring our promises that we've made, and that they are able to get the care that they need as well. Let's see, what else? Yes, the roosters. They've always got something to crow about. The U.S. Post Office. That's a good topic as well. Let me see if I can see the rest of that question. Boy, my phone is really hot. Well, I can't see all of that question for some reason. Oh, there we go. How should we be improving ballot access in November? Well, I think that's an excellent question. I want to back up a little bit before I address the ballot access issue. So the United States Post Office has been in quite a financial pickle since about 2006, when the Postal Accountability and Enhancement Act was passed. And the Postal Service is a self-funded institution. And after that act was passed, profitable up until that point. And then after that, it was capped to where they couldn't increase prices on stamps and such. So they can't increase the amount of income they're bringing in. And they had to pay for retirement up front. So they went from having a $900 million surplus in 2006, or profit in 2006, to a loss of $3.8 billion 3 years later. So that's huge, and that is not because the post office is so inefficient. It is because Congress did this to them. So, you know, the post office does a whole lot more besides just deliver ballots during election season. There are also a lot of people who get their prescriptions through the mail. Certainly when I am writing prescriptions in my practice, it is very common for me to send their prescriptions to a mail pharmacy, and they get their medications that way, and that's primarily seniors, and a large number of our veterans are getting their medications that way. And beyond that, it's also how a lot of us get products that we are purchasing through the mail. You know, it's not just Amazon, it's also small businesses that use the Postal Service. And let's also think about rural America, that they have things that are delivered to them. And so if we don't have the United States Postal Service, and we're going to privatize that and allow private businesses to deliver our mail, the cost is going to go way up to all of us. And why in the world would they want to continue delivering mail to very rural areas that it's completely cost prohibitive? So, you know, that is really important to us as well as maintaining the post office. But back to the ballot issue, you know, I think it is important to, one, call your legislators and let them know how important the post office is to you, and to make sure that they continue to fund it appropriately. It would be nice if we could go back to the way things were. And also that I would encourage people to fill out their ballot. If you're doing mail-in ballots, then request it now. And then as soon as you can get it, make sure you get it in the mail early so that it is delivered on time and your vote is counted. And while on that topic, it's also super important that you make sure that every single thing on that ballot is filled out correctly, and that you also include your a copy of your photo ID, since Arkansas is a photo ID requiring state. And so make sure you fill all of that out properly and you include that, or else your vote doesn't count. And I think we want everyone's vote to count. So if you're not, I am actually not going to do mail-in voting. I am going to go and vote early, and I will certainly be wearing a mask, washing my hands, and watching my distance when I go. Let's see, any more questions? A bunch of us in our neighborhood are trying to help a single dad. Thanks for doing that, Gwen Terry. I don't know why I can't see the rest of your question. I see that Stephanie replied to it. I can't make it click for some reason. Can you hear the GOP's silence on Russian bounties from your house? It's deafening. Yeah, that's super important. I mean, I don't understand why we aren't loudly calling that out. It makes no sense to me. I think, you know, you think about what does this country owe? And, you know, our military, and specifically our military personnel, has always been really a cherished resource. Doesn't sound like the right word, but we all value the service that our military members provide for this country and keeping us all safe, and serving their nation, and being willing to give up their lives in service of our country and keeping us all free and safe. And I find it appalling that neither our president nor many Republican members of Congress are calling this out. And it is shameful. That is never okay. And we have to respond in some fashion instead of just ignoring it. And I'm not saying that we need to start a war with Russia, but we certainly need to have a response. Well, I think we've probably covered quite a little bit, and I am intending these little Firefly chats to be short little venues that you guys can just send your questions in, and I can just kind of riff online. And COVID state of affairs, yes, I can do that. So we'll do this again, and hopefully next time we won't have any technical difficulties, and if we do, then this will be our backup plan. So COVID state of affairs in Arkansas and some recommendations. So we have had 582 deaths in the state of Arkansas. And I think sometimes it is really easy to get caught up in the statistics and not really think about the fact that that's 582 of our neighbors. These are people who were somebody's sister, someone's brother, someone's wife, someone's husband, someone's child, someone's grandparent, someone's friend. And I certainly was really bothered and heartbroken by a story I read this week about a nurse who lost his life to COVID here in Arkansas. And he was so close in age to my husband's age, and my husband is an ER nurse. And so it does feel far too close and very personal. And, you know, healthcare providers and hospital workers are exhausted right now. And I don't hear people talking about the work that they're doing as much as I heard in the beginning of this. And I think that, you know, I feel it makes me think about the teachers who are going to be facing what healthcare workers have been facing over the last 5 or 6 months. And I'm thinking about teachers as well. And it's really tiring when you're worried about doing a good job, being able to meet the needs of the people of your community. And so I'll just take a moment and say thank you to all the healthcare workers out there, whatever capacity you work in. And I want teachers to know that we're thinking about you too, and we know what that feels like. And to be facing a situation where you feel like getting COVID is inevitable. Like my husband and I both talked about how it wasn't if, but when we got infected with COVID, and what we would do as a family to handle that. And I certainly hope that those early conversations were wrong and that neither of us get it. And I certainly hope that all the teachers in Arkansas will stay safe. But when we're talking about sending our children back to school, I don't really see how that's gonna happen, that we're not all gonna be safe. We know that children are wonderful little vectors of disease, and it is being in group situations that we spread this virus. And so rather than being so dark and dire, I'll just say I am hopeful that each and every one of us will do our part and wear a mask, wash our hands, watch our distance, and I certainly look forward to a functioning federal government in which we actually lead and there's actually a response to COVID, and I'm really sad that that's probably not going to happen until the current president is out of the White House. So that doesn't feel like a happy note to end on. But anyway, I will just say thank you so much for all of you joining this chat. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I would love to have your help and get involved in the campaign. You can all do your part. You can absolutely make a difference in this election, and I think we can do better, and let's flip the third. Have a wonderful night, all of you.